If you want to connect with your spirit guides but are not too sure who you'll meet, what to do when you connect, well, today in this episode, Rob and I are going to share from our own experience and from what everybody else thinks they are. We're going to share the type of guides that you can expect to meet. Now, Rob and I are definitely on a mission to help everyone we meet to connect with their own spirit guides so that they can be more empowered. This really empowers you to ask those burning questions, to live this purposeful life and a fulfilling life. So, without further ado, today we're going to share the types of guides that we'll encounter. So, who's first, Rob? Which guides are first?
Well, we're going to start by talking about ancestral
Mm.
guides, by which we mean people related to you over the course of your 3D history, as it were. So, could it be your parents? Could it be your grandparents? Could it be further back down your ancestral line? And the answer for me is yes, it can often be very far back down your ancestral line. So, it's not a question of waiting for your parents to show up or your
Mm.
grandparents to show up.
Mm.
They might. It's more a
Mm.
question of a part of you or a connection to you from way back when may come forward to remind you of something perhaps you haven't learned
Yes, yeah.
for me. So when I say ancestral guides, and let's keep it recent, let's say it's your aunt or your uncle,
Mm.
they might show up, and we're not talking about this from a mediumistic point of view. We're not
Yes, exactly. We've got
finding
to make
out
that clear, haven't we, Rob? Yeah.
how Auntie
Mm.
Maureen is doing on the other side.
Mm.
These people may come through to you voluntarily because they need to tell you something or show you something or nudge you in the right direction. And for me, ancestral guides are very subtle.
Mm.
So I don't get them walking into my space and saying, "Don't worry, the budgie's fine. She's here with me."
Yes.
Um, but I
Just
get my
just know
father is
that.
with me all the time as a
Yeah.
guide, and he will move things around the house to get my attention. And there's a tremendous sense of humor about him, but it's very small, very subtle, and very occasional. But I know perfectly well what's going on.
Mm.
So you need to
Mm.
really keep your feelers out for those
Mm.
because they can be hard to connect with, but they're also the ones that most people want to connect with,
Yes.
perhaps if they're not too far down this journey, because they
Mm.
want to know how X, Y, or Z is on the other
Mm.
side.
Mm.
That's not what it's
Mm.
about.
No, not at all. I have my auntie with me because she's just such a
Yeah,
beautiful guiding light, and where I can heal it's almost for healing ancestry, isn't it, Rob?
yeah,
So, there's like
yeah,
me on this side of the fence and my auntie on the other side of the fence, and we're not constantly, but I keep going in with her and we'll heal a lot of the ancestral work, all that information,
yeah,
all that knowledge, all that piece of work, a part of our mission that we all are here to do at this moment in time, or certainly those that will be awake to knowing that we're healing ancestry, like you say, rather than knowing that everybody in the dog is okay.
yeah,
Just know that that's the case anyway.
yeah. That's a given.
That is a lovely thing for a medium to do, that helps somebody at the time.
Yeah,
That's not what you need to do as as a sort of as your own star being, your own channel for
yeah,
helping, for connecting, for your own
yeah,
connection. There's so much more you can do with that, and we wanted to make sure people knew that, didn't we,
yeah.
Rob?
So just don't confuse those purposes.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Next one
Okay.
is another one that a lot of people want to know about, and that's their own spirit, what we would class as a spirit guide, if you like. So this can be another soul, another person that's passed on the other side. It may be a soul that generally it's usually who you've had contact with in the past. So you might have had a past life with them. There are particular ones that you might have had a life in, maybe Egypt, maybe ancient Greece. These are the ones that you might find present themselves as a nun or a monk or things like that. But you have to understand this is where how they meet you where you are is depending on, let's call it, your spiritual maturity. So if you're just starting out, the way they might present themselves as a monk is so that you're not fearful of them. They won't present themselves as they maybe really look, and it might be light and dark and everything in between. And with a spirit guide, their contract, it's usually because you've got a contract with them. And I would say every single person has some form of spirit guide or a spirit team, more likely, depending on your purpose and mission on the earth right now. So the contract with them, the soul contract, might be lifelong, or it might just be for a short term. Might just be while you learn a particular lesson, and then you'll find they've just gone away, and that's absolutely fine. So the other thing about this is these guides also develop as your soul develops while you're learning on Earth and learning and growing and expanding on Earth. So that's really all we need to say with the spirit guides. Those are ones I used to deal with a lot, and then as I've grown and moved on, they've grown so much that I don't really connect with any of them anymore. But it's usually a lovely one to do when lovely people to meet when you first get to working with the spirit, the spirit realm, if you want to call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I want to talk about something people often overlook, and that's elementals
Mm.
or
Mm.
nature spirits, however you want to refer to them. And
Mm.
these are the beings that we have enshrined in kind of our folklore globally, that we call fairies or elves or trolls or whatever your own cultural reference for these entities might be. Um, it's odd to maybe include them as guides, but they can be guides, and they
Mm.
are sporadic, and they might come to you at a time of mutual need. They may need you, and you may need them. They are tricky to grasp because they're quick,
Yeah.
very quick-witted. They often get a bad reputation because we don't understand them. So there's a lot of folklore about people being abducted by fairies and you know, spirits doing dreadful things to them, which is all just lack of understanding, lack of
Hmm.
comprehension of who these
Hmm.
beings are. They essentially are here to look after the earth. So there are times when they may come, from my perspective, where they might come to us for guidance or to guide us, is when we're doing something bad to the earth. So when you take out a tree that shouldn't have been taken out, when you build on a
Yes.
piece of land that
Mm.
should not be built
Mm.
on,
Mm.
that's when they will communicate with you.
Absolutely. Mm.
And I've had them quite clearly in certainly open spaces and woodland. I've never had them in my home that I know of. It doesn't mean they can't come in, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had an experience of elementals,
Yeah,
Jim? Yeah.
my experience, Rob, was with the Rudston monolith,
Yeah.
where I went to the Rudston monolith, I put my hands on the Rudston monolith, got nothing at the time. But the very next day, I just felt like I needed to go into meditation, and I was blown away by seeing again, all third eye saw these guides that were the guardians of the Rudston monolith telling me all about it, all what it's meant to do, what it's meant to be for. And I couldn't tell you whether they were fairies or where they were from. They didn't, at that point in time, they didn't explain it. It really didn't matter, but they looked like very tall, big fairies, maybe of Orifim type or whatever. Really didn't know, but it was magical. So they can come at different, all sorts of
Mm.
different times. But I would say really, particularly now, like Rob says, associated with nature and with
Yeah.
almost like druid type, the druid realm, I suppose I want to call it the druid type energies that people would get, maybe the shaman energies, but also other things as well. So again, will be there to give you a message if you're meant to get that message. I think as
Yeah.
well they come to a lot of children can see them because of course children are in a their state of mind is so open, beautiful, and curious that they're the ones that see them more than adults that are so closed, so such a closed mind to,
You're so right.
wondering whether
You're
they're going
so
to
right.
see them like must have, that must be my imagination. So some of it's really beautiful to see them.
Absolutely.
Mm.
My grandmother used to take us down the woods in Leeds when I was little, and she would forever say, "Oh, there's a fairy, there's a fairy," and we'd all go looking for the fairy and say, "Oh, it's gone down a bluebell. You missed it."
Yeah,
So,
I love it. I love that. Yeah.
but they,
And
they are that element of fun.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, some people, what you can do, is place little crystals and little gifts for little bits of twigs
Mm,
and acorns for them to leave them there,
mm.
come back to it a week later and see if they've been
Let's see.
taken, see what happens,
Yeah. See if they've been
and
rearranged.
we might think
Yeah.
it's, yeah, been
Yeah.
rearranged. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
people say, oh, it's just a squirrel taking it, but you never,
Mm,
who's right or wrong? Who's to know? You can have so much fun with a lot of them. That's what they're
yeah.
like. Like Rob says, they're so quick, and some of them are just, there to have fun. So
Absolutely. And
again,
they
just
use Earth's energy to
yes, yes,
travel.
they do.
So if
Yes.
you know where energy grids are near you, you know where
Yeah.
water is near you, that's where you'll
Yeah.
find them.
Yeah, many water spirits,
Yeah.
yeah, around as well. Okay, yeah, those are lovely ones.
Yeah.
Next one we want to talk about the almighty angelic guides,
Mhm.
or are they almighty? So again, with angelic guides, the old-fashioned view, the where I say, oh, this is Sir 2008 or so 1950s. These angelic guides can be, yes, gentle, powerful. We often really associate them with being of the love and light only. But really, I'd say both Rob and I, the way we have experienced what we class as angelic guides, have been just more a powerful, neither male, female. I know we try and put them into being male or female, a powerful guide, even to an extent of sometimes you're very in awe of them, yes, just because of their power. I've had experience in 2020 with who I'd class as Archangel Metatron. I want to say right now, was that right or wrong? Was it Archangel Metatron who was contacting me about the geometry, because of course I've got Metatron's cube, or was that, some of just where my spiritual maturity was at the time? Who knows? And I don't particularly connect with him specifically. And there you go, there's me saying it's a him because it feels a masculine energy now. So I always, again with the guides, I always want to say right here is just always be so discerning with them. Um, Again, you've had experience, haven't you, with archangels or an
Yeah,
archangel, haven't you,
absolutely.
Rob?
Yeah, Archangel Azrael,
Mm,
who has sort of been present with me for a very, very long time. And I had a particular vision of Azrael, and at one point I said, "Can you show me what you really look like?"
mm.
And there was a brief conversation. Are you sure you can cope? And he said, "Well, I'll indicate." And what I saw was impossible to explain. It was kind of mind blowing, in the sense of this was the center of the most enormous power. And if you were not ready to experience it, you would be absolutely scared,
Yes,
really
yes.
terrified by it, because it was just so enormous and all encompassing.
Mm,
But if you
mm,
recognize that that is the truer presence, that is what this energy being is, then it's not frightening. You start to think, I can be part of the energy, that energy can teach me.
mm, mm.
But you've got to be ready.
Yeah.
So,
Mm,
if you do get an angel in your life, which is wonderful, and they are just robed and winged, that's not the true picture, but
hmm
live with it for now, because that's just how
hmm
they find it easier to appear to you.
Yes,
So it's not to
exactly.
scare you.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But
They're not there
to
to
say they are
scare.
a force of nature is putting it
Mm,
mildly.
mm. But you can see that means that we're not giving them the whole, they're not able to use the whole power, if we're just, expecting them to be this love and light being, and the power. I've also had an experience with, I think it was Archangel Chamuel.
Yeah.
I'm never very good with names, where it literally, I wasn't even asking for anything, and suddenly it literally got, I am Archangel Chamuel, and it nearly blasted me out. And I
Mm.
have to check then, was that right or was that wrong? So, but it was still an experience which I will, enjoy and and go
Yeah.
with. And they gave me some information, and then they went. And so I want to say here is it's not where they'll always, when we say about I'm going to call in Archangel Michael because it's for protection. Again, this feels like the So 2008, where I don't think that particularly works. I think those guides, as we might call them, those beings of light and maybe dark, will come to us when it's needed, if it's part of our mission, rather than they're coming to
Yeah.
everyone. And this may upset people. And Rob and I are here to, shake the boat and and not particularly just go with the flow with everything. That's what part of our mission is, to really speak the truth of what we
Yeah.
know about. Um, but literally, you can experience a really good amount of power and love from some of these angelic beings as well.
Yeah.
There's so much more we could talk about these, like the fallen angels, etc. But it's probably for another
That's
another
another
podcast,
episode
isn't it,
altogether.
Rob? Yeah,
Yeah,
with all of this,
absolutely.
getting into this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we should talk about ascended masters.
yeah, yeah.
And this is not an area that I have tremendous experience with. Ascended masters, who are they? Kind
Mm,
of
mm.
anybody that we recognize in our human past, because they almost seem entirely to be humans
Yes.
that have ascended with a higher level of knowledge. So Yeshua or Jesus, the Buddha, Saint Germain, Thoth. Yeah, Thoth is perhaps a god, not a human. But you can kind of pick your spiritual guru there that has ascended and is living on another plane and is available to guide.
Hmm.
I don't know how much I personally have a need to connect with these.
Mm.
I have had a conversation with the being we called Yeshua, which was very frank and very simple and very compassionate, but not massively mind blowing. It was just comfortable. It was like
Nice.
sitting on a rock having a chat with your brother,
Mm.
quite literally. So, have you had any experience with ascended masters
And
at all?
all, yeah, mainly what I've had as a off the cuff spec, just suddenly coming in to me, is of all the beings, Kali Ma,
Yeah,
or Kali, and I had to look that up. I just literally was doing some work, and it was in the darker realms, actually, in the sort of dark, thinking about getting rid of low entities, and suddenly saw this being come down to help. And at first, I'm going to say she didn't frighten me, but I was very wary what's going on here. But actually, she's very calm and very just waited for me to do all my discernment. And then she just still was around. And I thought, well, okay, we'll go with that. And she just helped me through, did some healing process for this other person that I was working on at the time. And then I've never really seen her, although because once she's connected, it feels like she's in the back of my mind sometimes, and not in a bad way, of just wonder what she's doing now. And that's really, the main thing I've had of what we would call ascended masters. But also, Rob, the guides, our higher self will also remind us that we're all ascended masters.
thank you.
It's
Yes,
already
yeah,
happened, that
yeah,
we're ascended. What's happening is, just as humans, we're going through that experience. We're going through what we'd call a journey in order to go back to that, that ascension part of, that ascended
yeah,
part of us. So again, it's not to put them, on any pedestal, if they've been just human, like all of us.
yeah,
We could maybe say some special humans because they have a special mission or whatever. But yeah, it's not just all of these ascended masters that we feel that should be this. We'll only um, listen to what they're saying, and it's all gospel, and all the only thing we should be doing, is
yeah.
listening to them. So again, it's still been a bit discerning and wary of what you hear out there, of what's going on again in the spiritual world, and what people are telling you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
when you are connecting to an ascended master, make sure that you are, as you say, discerning that
Yes.
ascended master has got continuing knowledge, and you're
Yes.
not just repeating what you know they said when they were here.
Yes.
That's the way to know. Did they stop at their own passing, or have they continued to grow and now have more wisdom to bring us?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And
you might just
yeah.
be falling into the trap of just recounting what you know,
Mm,
or have been led to believe.
yeah.
So be
And
careful there.
Definitely. But the key with master, with being a master, master in self, whether it's ascended master, it's the
Yeah,
master in self. So they are likely to have been, they're both part of the dark and the light. So it's not
yeah,
just, again, all this love and light. They've been able to bring in and merge the darkness with the light, as a divine union.
yeah,
And so they still might be showing you part of the darkness. And again, it's not being in fear of it, but it's part of our
yeah,
embracing the duality that is the dark and light and all that goes with it. So yeah, but if you encounter them, we'd love to hear that. Very interesting if you do
yeah.
encounter anybody like that. Yes, good. So, moving on.
Moving on.
Uh, one of mine and one of Rob's favourites are the star beans, as we call them, or
Yeah,
star seed, or galactic guides. This is part of Rob and I's mission, really for those who do kind of resonate with the cosmos, the universe, and what's out there, either on other planets or even higher above that um, is definitely they can be there's thousands and thousands of different galactic races that there are races that our frequencies, if you like, our consciousness at the moment are probably not even meeting and connecting yet. But Rob and I, we've met quite a few, haven't we?
indeed,
In
indeed.
that.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that there are a number of species that work with this planet
Yes, yes, there are.
on a very regular basis. So you will hear Arcturian, Pleiadians, Lyrians, and these are races that have real connection with this planet. Encountering, if you are in the forest and you see a light and there is a being, that might actually be a being and not a spirit guide.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's someone who's visiting on a mission doing something.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a different podcast altogether. That's a different
Yes.
series altogether. But where we connect with them as spirit guides is this enormity of being that is out there that is not restricted to a 3D life as we are and can travel
Yes.
at
Cross.
whim and
Cross.
connect and talk and
Mm.
guide and help. And they can be Pleiadians or Arcturians or Lyrians, or they can be from civilizations and worlds we know nothing about,
Hmm.
so far
Other
removed from us.
dimensions.
You
Mm.
just have to be really, really open.
Mm.
And to me, in all the work I do with guides, these are perhaps the most practical.
Yes,
I get
definitely.
real sense
Yes.
spoken to me by galactics.
Yeah, it really helps you navigate on Earth.
Yeah,
These are the ones when we've been talking about going, within yourself, the inner knowings, and all the work around, how we create the world. All of that, myself and Rob, that we've got that from the Galactics, from the, from the star beings, who are just, that much more experienced in that
yeah,
than us, really. Those that have been involved in manipulating DNA for other species, those that are, involved in being scientists. So you like the Syrians and the
yeah.
Arcturians are very much what we would class as scientists up there with, really wonderful pieces of equipment that we've seen and,
Mm.
in another realm, if you like, in it through the third eye. So they, they're really helping humanity at the moment. But we've also got to understand there are also those that have their own interest as well,
Yeah.
and use technology for not so, much for the human for the human race. All's good. All's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, nothing's right or wrong, good or bad. And it's just part of the game. And it's usually, Rob and I would class ourselves as star seeds. So you'll have heard that term obviously bandied around. And if you
Yeah.
feel like you're a star seed, that's when you'll have a very avid interest in, the galactic guides. And if you don't, it's probably that you're more inclined to want to connect with those guides, that are more earthbound. And all of it is okay.
Yeah.
It's just where we're from and what missions we're down to do. And say, for instance, if you feel like you want to connect with Palladians and there's a strong interest in that, probably likely that you either were a Palladian or you were doing something, in another in another aspect, another lifetime, if you like,
Yeah,
of you that connected with Pleiadians as well. So yeah, Rob and I could talk about those forever
for
and a
hours.
day.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, those are
Yeah,
for a lot of people now that want really wanting to connect with the galactic guides. So yeah, beautiful to do that. Really lovely, but still be discerning. Still, they're not all there for our benefit. So,
yeah,
even Palladians, there are even some Palladians that have their own interest at heart. So, again, always be discerning.
absolutely, absolutely. Other races from other galaxies and planets have a range of personalities just like we do.
Mm,
So just be
yes.
aware they're not
Yeah.
all going to come and give you a big hug.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah. And
right,
in
let's
fact,
talk.
yeah, I was
Sorry,
going to
Jim.
say,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
fact, some of them are just
yeah.
very blunt, aren't they? Very
I
just,
told you.
they're not even going to,
Yeah,
they're not, the other thing about this, they're not all going to be, well, greetings, Julie. Some of them are like that, but it's sometimes just very, blunt, get to the point,
yeah,
And it's about meeting them as friends as well, getting to know them. So yeah, sorry,
yeah.
Rob, next one.
No, no, that's fine. This is my favorite area and probably the least
Mm,
easy to explain.
mm,
And these are what we have just called beings of light for now, higher beings of light.
mm.
And these are energetic spirits that will come to you, energetic beings that will come to you that do not incarnate on a planet, do not attach themselves to any of other of these categories we've had. Maybe there might be something of a connection with the angelic realm, and that the angels don't
Yeah,
knock off at 6 and go home.
yeah,
You know, they're just always
yeah,
there. Um, the higher beings of light for me are almost the most intelligent and the most revealing when I really need to know something key about what I'm doing and where I'm going. That tends to be who comes to me or who I go to because it's a meeting of energy. Have you got anything that would help people understand this more than I'm just waffling here because I can't quite define?
The only
You
thing
know?
I can think of is if I, so if I see any being like this, if you imagine being, if anybody knows etheric, if you imagine in your third eye meeting almost like a soul, like another, how you would meet a soul that doesn't have a body, is
Yeah,
just this huge beam of powerful light, and yet you can have a conversation with them. It's the weirdest thing for a human. So yeah, just literally the easiest thing, just non-physical form, and just literally look like they're wearing it feels almost like they're wearing one of the white cloaks, which is why we would look at ascended masters like that, and put people on pedestals like that. But it's just because they're so etheric, you actually see an outline of
yeah,
something. But that's it. But so intelligent, such an intelligent,
yeah, yeah,
life form. There's still a life form. They just don't even need, the 3D physical body. And that's the
yeah.
only way I
These
can
are,
describe it. Yeah.
are energies that have evolved
Yeah.
beyond any need of this,
Yes. Yeah. Mm.
but to
Yeah.
be encouraged and welcomed because what they have to tell you is just astounding.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
wisdom from
yeah,
there. I haven't seen any of those that are not just what we would class as love and light.
yeah,
Those usually are just the wisdom, like you say,
yeah,
wisdom, very old. I don't even feel like it's even soul wise. I feel it's like beyond the
yeah.
soul,
I agree.
with that, that they're just almost like what we'd class as some other ascended masters, if we want to call them that, is quite high. And just when it's needed,
Yeah,
they will project themselves here, and as we would understand, come and see us. Yeah,
yeah. I'm glad you
yeah.
said soul because now I want you to talk a bit about guides that are perhaps closer to home. So your own
Yes.
soul, your own higher self, your
Love it.
ego, your mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, I'd say the most important bit, Rob.
yeah,
There is no point going out there thinking, I want to talk to this person, I want to talk to my galactic, family, I want to talk to this spirit guide without first looking inward. Who are you? Who am I as a soul? These lifelong questions, these burning questions we have. Who am I? Well, if we really connect with soul through our heart, heart space, connect with soul, connect with higher self, who can just be this. as you're going about your daily business, once you've really connected with higher self and understand who higher self is for you, I feel like they're different for everyone. With higher self for you, they just connect and chat with you instead of ego chatting with you, telling the things you can't do. Higher self will be more of that unbiased wisdom, the inner wisdom that you've got. I mean, also the other things is even, through soul, body is a reflection of what's happening to you on earth at the moment. So if we have an illness or if we're feeling discomfort, instead of saying, "Oh, that I don't like this, I want to stop this," is ask, is going in, checking on the body and going, okay, okay, body, in this place that's happening, that where the thing's happening is what's going on at the moment. I mean, at the moment, I see a lot of people um of a certain age, so in the higher realms, in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, that are really struggling, a lot of ladies in particular, struggling with lymphedema actually. And every time I seem to get that it's about you being stuck in the mud. So instead of, the lymphedema can be, I mean, one excruciatingly painful for people. So something needs to be done, and there's not a lot physically that can be done with this, but energetically, I feel is a lot of people in 70s, 80s, have we done all the clearing or have we spent a lifetime of stiff upper lip, not clearing your trauma? It's just that it's you hold it in because that's what you're meant to do and you're conditioned to do it. And I'm feeling that a lot at the moment. So that is one example of a guide that is so close to home. It's your body is a guide to what's happening to you at the moment energetically and where you need to heal. And when I say where, it could be the place of what emotions and what trauma. So being stuck in the mud, it's about where are you not moving forward because you're so you're so enclosed in yourself. So it's so sad, really. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do because people have different reasons for it, but it's the thing that just keeps coming up as it's just a pattern I'm seeing at the moment. So I hope that helps people in terms of, understanding, there's a physical element to this, but the physical is the guide as well, so much,
Hmm.
more than I want to heal. Let me go and ask the Palladians. Your body will help you just as much. I mean, you talk about your inner universe. I'm very much into DNA, and if you talk to your DNA will give you that story, and you can get rid of the kind of implanted story, the one you've bought in that's false, and all sorts of really juicy things like that when you get going that will help, that will help you heal your body as well. So you can do it yourself, do
Yeah,
your self-healing and self-mastery with that. Very important thing is this
good.
part of the guides.
And let's not forget the soul family that we're all connected.
Mm,
These
mm.
myriad souls that are our cosmic families. And some of them will connect with us on Earth, and some of them will connect with us only in a different reality or different dimension.
Mm.
But we belong to huge families, and these families interlink like chains.
Yes.
So
Mm.
there's an incredible opportunity to share knowledge. And as you are part of a soul family, in as much that you are a guide yourself.
Yes.
So as
Mm.
much as you can connect
Agree.
with guides, you are a guide. And people in your soul family, and there could be thousands of them in your immediate family, can share your knowledge. You can pass it down. Literally, if you imagine a circle of people thinking hands and you share knowledge, you pass it to the next, to the next, to the
Mm.
next. That knowledge goes around and is shared, and then it can perhaps link to the next chain and go round and round again. So there is an immense amount of connection with your soul family. And your soul family could be made of all sorts of these beings,
Yes. Yes.
who might just connect in your soul family as well as. But when you are connecting with spirit guides, don't overlook the fact that you have a family out there already.
Mm.
You'll connect
Mm.
with guides beyond that, but look within as well because you might get a quick connection, an easy
Yeah.
connection.
Mm.
It's like making a phone call and the line is really clear. as opposed to making a phone call to the other side of the world back in the day when you battled to hear and the line broke up and yeah, when was that back in the day of 2G or something?
Yeah.
Now that we've got 5G, there's no
Yes.
problem.
Yeah.
But there's a clarity with your family that's quite easy to achieve.
Yes. So easy because you're
Yeah,
already connected.
yeah,
Absolutely. Already connected. Yeah. Well, you're already
yeah,
connected with everyone, but that is, one of the easy ones to do. Yeah.
yeah. Now I'm going to throw
Mm.
this one right back at you. This is the tricky area of the lower energy,
Yep.
and it
Yep.
can't be avoided.
Oh, Rob, I was going to say, can I just not avoid that? Can I just, oh no, I
No,
don't like that, and just, I'll just avoid that, and I'll
out
just
with it.
work in
Come
other
on.
light. That's me. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. All part of the duality that we're facing, isn't it? These lovely low energy entities, the little demons, the little, I've seen all sorts of things that look like Gollum or something. It's one of the things I keep getting through. Um, a brilliant, source to guide us actually, because they're teaching us lessons just like everyone else is. So it's definitely a time for embracing those, isn't it, Rob?
absolutely. There's no need for fear.
Yeah, yeah.
They will be
That's the thing I always
attracted to
say.
you if your energy is higher,
Mm,
because
yeah,
that's, oh, a light.
yeah.
Let me get
Woohoo.
nearer the light and see if I can
Yeah,
get
yeah,
anything from it, see if I can take some of that light for me. And you just have to treat them with the same love you treat everything else,
exactly.
with
Mm,
with no anxiety, no terror, nothing like that is called for. They cannot hurt you.
mm, mm.
They cannot hurt you because they are aspiring to your level.
Yes.
Just
Mm,
as you aspire to a higher level, they aspire to your level.
mm,
So let them know that
mm.
and
And
send them off.
yeah, and
They
equally,
won't
yeah,
stay.
the
Yeah,
ones that, yeah, the ones that, this is, we said definitely, it's as we raise our light, as our light, is bigger and bigger, they will move towards the light. But also when somebody else is, when we're in such a low frequency, and they were saying so many negative things about ourselves, it's another, because they're on the same frequency, it's another way they will get to people. And this is where
yeah,
you might, all of us out there might have a mission to help, to help those. It might be family members with such a low energy, a low self-esteem, but even more than, more than that, that need help, that they will also really be associated with, that we need to just, what Rob and I are saying is we may just be, I have had a chat with them before to learn why, why they have, this is one where it was just attached to me, where there's a few attached to me. Um, you're not always going to do that, but sometimes again it just gives you lessons. So again, it's not to be in fear. And yes, ultimately we don't want them in our field because we don't want them consuming. The reason they come for the light is they're siphoning the light because they don't have their own light. They haven't use this, use the kind of divine union because they haven't learned lessons to capture their own light. They cannot get their own light, and that's why they're looking for others out there. And it just is, isn't it, Rob, with that? So,
absolutely.
mm,
And I would say if you are wanting to connect and your energy is a bit off,
mm,
fix your energy first and then connect.
mm,
Because if you go into this with low energy, then like attracts like, no energy will come in.
yeah,
So just help yourself to avoid it,
mm,
but just accept it as part of the parcel. It's fine.
mm, yeah. I mean, we'll also say here a low energy can look like an angelic guide, can
Mm,
look like Jesus himself, can look like things like that because they're working. A lot of them might be working off. They'll still be able to like read your mind and kind of brainwash and make you say things that you don't. I sometimes feel now there's what I would class a virus. Viruses going around. It's just the way I can interpret it and understand it
yeah,
that make us say things that not true. And that again, no fear with that. It just is. We'll know if we're brainwashing ourselves into saying negative things. It's all the negative things aren't to do with these guys, but it can be a part of something that's going around because it's just a way of the virus keeping the the old paradigms in place, if you like. We'll share this brainwashing, we'll share these same phrases. You can treat a
Yeah,
virus as part of the poverty grid, for instance. So very quickly, those that say money doesn't grow on trees, money's the root of all evil, can be kind of like we'd call it a spell, but you can class it as a virus where it's just passed on as well. So that's all I mean by that. Again, um, at this level where we're not wanting to put fear into
yeah.
everybody. They can come in many guises, the low energies, and also I feel like they'll come to you as you grow spiritually, as you become more spiritually mature. There was more weird ones, if you like, and more of those, like Rob encountered uh, the archangel, but Rob saw his darkness as well side. I don't mean to say it's a dark entity, but you can see more as you spiritually grow as well because you're just ready for it. And so this is why we end up seeing more low entities. They're all around us, but yeah, you can manage your life without knowing about them, but better to understand them, in order to be able to completely marry up the light and the dark. That's what we're needing to do to truly heal, not just there, oh, I don't like that feeling, I'm going to avoid it. That's what's wrong with that's why we're not healing as such, and the world isn't ascending as such. So, or one of the
Absolutely.
reasons anyway. So yeah, yeah, there's those.
So I think that's enough listing
Yes.
of guides. And bear in mind, this is not an exhaustive list. This is a list as we understand it and our own experience will dictate. But Julie, what do you think happens to us as we evolve as humans and our frequency rises and we get better and better at this work? What happens to our connection with the guides and what happens to their energy?
Yeah, well, a lot of this, I feel like we will see them as external guides, but as our energy grows and grows and we get more information, get more downloads, we're knowing now that a lot of these guides are actually other aspects of ourselves. So we've talked about whether we're galactic, other realms, but we are not just human. We are multidimensional, and that's how much more we understand our energy and how that grows. When we talk about soul expanding and growing, we're talking about knowing more of who we actually are and not just who we are as the human and having the mission on Earth. It's so vast and so wonderful. So yeah, any one of the guides above that we've talked about could be another aspect of you. Even the dark entities can be, we'll understand, might be us as in a past life, if you see what I mean, or in a past version of ourselves, might even be from 20 years ago, a past version who we were holding on to, and bringing like saying hello to bring the face up again because we've just not quite cleared everything. So yeah, that's what feel like is that just understand that sometimes these are ourselves. Even angelic guides can be versions of you as well, that you've been the angelic guide before. And as you get more experience, that's the sort of thing you can ask, hang on a minute, is this an external guide or actually is this me? And at that point, then they'll tell you, but they won't just go, yes, they'll talk to you a bit more about it. And this is when then we can start integrating. So if we're a Palladian, there's ways of integrating that Palladianness in us to help. It's not that we're going to suddenly look Palladian, of course, we're going to look human, but bring in all those like healing abilities and all that, all the gifts that we'll have, and that's how we can grow and understand. And the more we practice, the more we can connect and get more information, or the louder the connection is, if you want to call it that. Yeah. Is there anything else, Rob, that you would add to that?
Not so much to that, but I do
Mm.
want to say that we must be very careful not to put our guides on a pedestal.
Yes. Yes.
These are not entities that want to be worshipped or treated as anything superior. They are energies who regard us as their equal. We should regard them as our equal. And they simply want to connect and help, just as you in your 3D life might want to connect and help your friends or your family on Earth. They want to connect and help off Earth, but they don't want anything for it. They don't want
Yeah.
your undying thanks. They don't want your adoration. They just want to reach out and be there for you because that's their mission.
And they
And
evolve. Yeah, they can't ascend without
they
us,
evolve.
as we understand it so much.
Absolutely. So do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
Rob. Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. They don't necessarily want anything from. It's not like us wanting, like I've given somebody a favor, so I want it back kind of
yeah,
exchange. It's not
yeah,
really like that. But yeah, definitely, it is in. Them. It's part of their mission as well. In that way that it's part of their contracts. In so that they're with us now. So they don't want anything, but they want us to work. The one thing is, it's like, I'll get, for goodness sake, Julie, do this work.
yeah,
But in
absolutely.
a joking
Yeah,
way. One of the things we found, Rob, is that they can be, the guides can be funny, the guides can jerk as well. It's not all this serious stuff, and so we shouldn't take it all seriously like this anyway, with anyone you encounter. Um, yeah, but it just is, they're just there to really to support us and help us,
yeah,
good or bad, just giving us the lessons to raise consciousness. It's just the one big mission of us all. Yeah.
yeah. Indeed, it is. And I think we should probably stop there.
Yes, that's enough.
Otherwise, we'll be here forever.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay,
want to
so
remind about the meditation? Yeah,
yeah, so we've got access to a meditation with the link below. So it'll take you to the website to get the meditation. So, and this meditation is specially prepared. It activates you, if you wish it to be, so you can start feeling the energy. For anyone who hasn't connected with guides before, this is a start of connecting, an instant connection to whichever guide you feel like you want to connect, or the guide will come down anyway, or the guide will come to you as we will understand it like that. They'll come and have a chat with you, or give you sensations. So it's a nice little guide just to get a start and get a feel for it.
indeed.
Lovely. So we will end it there. Please subscribe, download, like the videos if you're on YouTube, and all the same, love the videos on all the podcast episodes that we've got. Thank you so much for being with us. See you next week.
Bye now.